There's a thief in your life. And the remarkable thing about this thief is that most people never notice him. He doesn't break into your house. He doesn't steal your wallet. He doesn't take anything you can point to and say, "That was mine, and now it's gone." He works slowly, invisibly, continuously. He takes a little bit every single day, every single month, every single year. And by the time most people realize what has happened, decades have passed and the damage is done. His name is inflation. And this video is about how he works, why he exists, who benefits from him, and what, if anything, you can do about him. Let's start with a story. In 1970, a young man gets his first real job. He's 22 years old, ambitious, and determined to build a good life. He earns a modest salary, let's say $10,000 a year, which in 1970 is a reasonable starting wage. He rents a small apartment for $150 a month. He buys groceries, pays his bills, saves a little each month. Life is tight but manageable. Now fast forward 50 years. That same man, now in his 70s, looks back at his working life. He earned good money over his career. He saved consistently. He did everything he was told to do. And yet somehow, despite decades of work, despite doing everything right, he feels like he's running in place. His savings don't go as far as he expected. The world feels more expensive than it should. The comfortable retirement he planned for feels just out of reach. What happened? Inflation happened. Not dramatically, not all at once. Just steadily, relentlessly, year after year, like water slowly carving a canyon. The apartment that cost $150 a month in 1970 costs $1,500 today. The groceries that cost $50 a week cost $300 today. The car that cost $3,000 costs $40,000 today. Everything he needed to live his life got more expensive, not because those things became more valuable, but because the money he used to buy them became less valuable. This is inflation, and most people accept it as a fact of life, like weather or gravity. A natural force that simply exists, something to be managed perhaps, but not something that was designed, or chosen, or imposed. That assumption is wrong. And understanding why it's wrong is one of the most important things you can do for your financial life and for your understanding of the world. Inflation is not a natural phenomenon. Inflation is a policy. It is a deliberate choice made by institutions that benefit from it, at the expense of people who don't understand it well enough to object. Let's talk about how inflation actually works. Most people think of inflation as prices going up, and that's not wrong. That's what you experience. But it's describing the symptom, not the cause. Prices going up is what inflation feels like. What inflation actually is, at its root, is the expansion of the money supply. Here is the fundamental logic. Imagine a simple economy. There are 100 apples, and there are $100. Each apple costs $1. Simple enough. Now imagine someone creates 50 new dollars and injects them into this economy. There are still 100 apples, but now there are $150. What happens to the price of apples? It goes up. Not because apples became scarcer, not because apples became more valuable, but because the supply of money increased while the supply of real goods stayed the same. More money chasing the same goods means each unit of money buys less. This is monetary inflation causing price inflation. And in the real economy, it works exactly this way, just with millions of goods and trillions of dollars instead of apples and hundreds. When a central bank creates new money, whether by printing physical currency, or more commonly today by simply crediting bank accounts electronically, the supply of money increases. And as the supply of money increases, the purchasing power of each existing unit decreases. Your dollar buys less. Your savings are worth less. Your wages, if they don't keep up, buy less. People who received the new money first, before prices adjusted, got a real benefit. They got to spend money at yesterday's prices. The people who received it last, workers whose wages adjusted slowly, savers whose accounts sat untouched, got the loss. They spent money at tomorrow's prices, but earned it at yesterday's wages. This is the Cantillon effect again, playing out in real time, every time new money is created. And since 1971, new money has been created continuously at an accelerating pace. Now let's make this concrete. Let's talk about what inflation has actually done to your life, in specific and measurable ways. Start with housing. In 1970, the median home price in the United States was around $23,000. The median household income was around $10,000. That means the average American family could afford a median home for roughly 2.5 times their annual income. Today, the median home price is over $400,000. The median household income is around $75,000. That's more than 5 times annual income. And in major cities like San Francisco, New York, or Boston, it's 10, 15, 20 times annual income. Housing didn't become 5 times more valuable. Houses didn't get 5 times bigger or 5 times better built. If anything, as we've discussed on this channel, they got worse. What happened is that the money used to buy houses got dramatically cheaper to create, and so asset prices inflated dramatically. The people who already owned homes got richer. The people who were trying to buy their first home got priced out. This is not a housing crisis. It is a monetary crisis expressing itself through housing. Now look at education. In 1970, the average annual cost of a 4-year public university in the United States was around $500. Today, it is over $10,000. And at private universities, it can exceed $70,000 per year. Has a college education become 20 times better? Has the quality of instruction, the depth of knowledge, the value of a degree increased by a factor of 20? Anyone who has spent time on a modern university campus, or who has hired recent graduates, knows the answer is no. What happened is that cheap money flooded the education sector through student loan programs. When the government makes it easy to borrow nearly unlimited amounts of money to pay for education, universities don't compete on price. They compete on amenities, climbing walls, gourmet dining halls, luxury dormitories, funded by debt that students will spend decades repaying. The inflation of the money supply became the inflation of tuition prices, and the cost was borne by the students, young people at the beginning of their economic lives, starting with a debt burden that previous generations never faced. Now look at healthcare. In 1970, total U.S. healthcare spending was around $75 billion, or about 5% of GDP. Today it is nearly $4 trillion, roughly 18% of GDP. Healthcare costs have grown faster than almost any other sector of the economy, faster than inflation in general, faster than wages, faster than almost any benchmark you can name. Is American healthcare 4 times better than it was in 1970, relative to the economy? By almost any objective measure. Life expectancy, chronic disease rates, infant mortality compared to peer nations. The answer is no. What happened is that third-party payment systems, government programs, and easy money removed price signals from the healthcare market, allowing costs to inflate without the normal competitive pressures that keep prices honest. Are you starting to see the pattern? Every sector where government money flows most freely, housing, education, healthcare, financial assets, is a sector where prices have inflated dramatically beyond general inflation. And every sector where government money flows least, consumer electronics, clothing, food in some categories, is a sector where prices have remained relatively stable or even fallen. This is not a coincidence. It is the Cantillon effect operating at the sectoral level. The sectors closest to the money printer inflate the fastest, and the people who own assets in those inflating sectors, real estate, stocks, financial instruments, see their wealth grow. The people who don't own those assets, renters, wage earners, savers, see their purchasing power erode. The rich get richer not because they work harder or create more value, but because they own assets that inflate when money is created. The poor get poorer not because they fail, but because the money they earn and save is the instrument being debased. Let's talk about what this does to ordinary financial planning. Because this is where it gets personal. You have been told your entire life to save money, put money in the bank, build an emergency fund, save for retirement. This is good advice as far as it goes, but it leaves out a critical piece of information. The money you save is being actively devalued by the system you're saving it in. A dollar saved in 1971 has lost more than 85% of its purchasing power today. If your grandfather put $10,000 in a savings account in 1971 and never touched it, that $10,000 would still be there today. Every dollar accounted for, every cent intact. But it would buy less than $1,500 worth of goods at 1971 prices. 85% of his stored labor, silently extracted over 50 years. The standard advice for dealing with this is to invest. Put your money in the stock market. Buy real estate. Own assets that appreciate. And this advice works for people who have enough money to invest, who have enough financial sophistication to navigate markets, who can afford to take on risk and weather downturns. For people with capital, the fiat system is manageable, even profitable. But for people living paycheck to paycheck, for people who can't afford to buy a house, or max out a retirement account, or invest in the stock market, the fiat system is a trap. The only financial tool available to them, the savings account, is the one tool that guarantees they will fall behind. The system punishes the people who have the least and cannot afford to play the asset appreciation game. This is not an accident. It is structural. It is baked into how the system works. Now let's zoom out and look at what inflation does not just to individual finances, but to individual behavior. Because this is the part that most financial commentators miss entirely. Inflation doesn't just change your balance sheet. It changes how you think. It changes your relationship with time. It changes what you value and how you plan. Remember time preference from our first video. High time preference means you want things now. You discount the future heavily in favor of the present. Low time preference means you're willing to wait. You're willing to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. Inflation is a tax on low time preference. It is a direct financial penalty for saving, for waiting, for deferring gratification. Every dollar you save loses value over time. Every year you wait to spend, the money you've saved buys less. The rational response to inflation, in pure financial terms, is to spend now rather than later, to borrow rather than save, to consume rather than invest. And that is exactly what happens. Personal savings rates in the United States have fallen dramatically since 1971. Consumer debt has exploded. The average American carries thousands of dollars in credit card debt. Debt with interest rates that would have been considered usurious by any previous civilization. Bankruptcy rates, foreclosure rates, financial stress, all elevated compared to the pre-1971 era. People aren't less disciplined than they used to be. They're responding rationally to a system that punishes discipline and rewards consumption. When your money loses value by sitting in an account, spending it quickly is the rational thing to do. The system has rewired the financial incentives of an entire civilization toward short-term thinking. And the consequences radiate outward from finance into every corner of life. Businesses make shorter-term investments because the cost of capital, distorted by money creation, makes long-term projects less attractive. Politicians run larger deficits because the ability to monetize debt removes the normal constraints on government spending. Corporations optimize for quarterly earnings rather than decade-long competitive positioning. Families take on more debt to afford the same standard of living their parents achieved with less. Everything gets shorter. Everything gets cheaper. Everything gets more disposable. This is what inflation steals from you. Not just money, time, not just purchasing power. The ability to think long-term, to plan for the future, to build something that lasts. So what do you do about it? The conventional answers are real but limited. Invest in assets. Buy real estate if you can. Maximize retirement contributions. Hold some gold. These strategies can help protect purchasing power for people who have the means to pursue them. But there is a deeper answer. And it starts with understanding that the problem is not a problem you can fully solve within the existing system. Because the existing system is the problem. The reason housing is unaffordable is not fixable with better budgeting. The reason education costs are crushing young people is not fixable with more savings discipline. The reason healthcare consumes an ever larger share of the economy is not fixable with smarter investment choices. These are systemic problems produced by a monetary system that continuously inflates the money supply and continuously transfers wealth from savers to asset owners. The only real solution is sound money. Money whose supply cannot be arbitrarily expanded by institutions whose interests are not aligned with yours. Money that preserves the purchasing power of stored labor across time. Money that rewards saving rather than punishing it. Money that restores the incentive to think long-term rather than destroying it. For most of human history, gold served this function, imperfectly, with limitations, but far better than any fiat alternative. And now, for the first time, there is something that improves on gold in every relevant dimension. Bitcoin has a fixed supply. 21 million coins. Ever. No committee can vote to create more. No emergency can justify expanding the supply. No war, no recession, no financial crisis changes the issuance schedule. The monetary policy of Bitcoin is not set by humans who can be pressured, corrupted, or simply mistaken. It is set by mathematics, enforced by a decentralized network, and verifiable by anyone in the world with a computer. A dollar saved in Bitcoin in 2015 has not lost purchasing power. It has gained it, dramatically. Not because Bitcoin is a speculation, though people treat it that way. Because Bitcoin is the first monetary instrument in history with a genuinely fixed supply in a world of expanding demand. When supply is fixed and demand grows, purchasing power increases. This is the opposite of inflation. This is what sound money feels like. The thief who has been stealing from you your entire life, quietly, invisibly, continuously, cannot pick the lock on a fixed supply. He can print dollars. He cannot print Bitcoin. And that difference, that single fundamental difference, changes everything. If you found this video useful, share it with someone who is working hard, saving carefully, and wondering why it never seems to be enough. Because the answer isn't that they're doing something wrong. The answer is that the system is designed to make sure they fall behind. And the first step to fixing a problem is understanding exactly how it works. Subscribe, and we'll keep going deeper.